Good evening, everybody. Terry Stone, a.k.a. The Podfather here. Now, there's been a couple of videos posted online, one from our friend Brian Richardson and one from Carlton Leach on James English's podcast. And it actually did both of them actually made me laugh. And I'll tell you why. The Carlton one was the funniest one because he said that I think I'm Tony Tucker. I just want to put it out there. When I put the wig on, and there's a camera on and I'm at a film set, I'm Tony Tucker. But other than that, I'm Terry Stone. So I do not think I'm Tony Tucker. So let's just dispel that myth. Obviously, Brian Richardson did a video, Brian Rolfe, regarding, our live show, which was filmed, I think about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And obviously, Bernie and Lee have come on our platform. And just so that people don't get it twisted, our platform is a platform for people to come on, tell their stories, share their opinions. I'm not biased either way. You know what I mean? I don't side with anybody. I just have a platform and, I ask questions. That's what podcast hosts do. And Brian said that he's rejected my podcast 7 times, which is a little bit economical with the truth. I actually reached out to him 7 or 8 months ago, and I said, "Oh, Brian, we'd love to have you on the show." Obviously, we made the Rise of the Foot Soldier things, and he obviously said that the reason he didn't come on was because I laugh at inappropriate things. Now, just so that you understand that I'm not laughing at anything, or I don't find these things funny. I find them actually horrific. But my coping mechanism, I'll say it in a minute, easy for me to say, my coping mechanism is to laugh in the face of adversity. So I laughed at some crazy stuff that Bernie said. That doesn't mean that I'm endorsing it. And I did call Brian earlier and say, Brian, I'm not taking anybody's side. You have your beef with Bernie, but I saw that you made a kind offer of coming on the podcast. Now, I think having you on a podcast and putting your side of the story across would be interesting. But obviously, you've done it on James English and Liam Tufts, and you've also said that you think that they're better podcasts than ours. Now, I would disagree with that, and I think you'll see over the next year who is the best podcast, on YouTube, and I think it's definitely going to be The Criminal Connection. So watch this space, but if you don't want to come on your own, and you'd rather come on with Bernard, I actually think you and Bernie sitting there talking with me, it will actually be really good fun, and I think you can obviously have your say, he can have his say. You can probably sit there and argue it out. But I think one thing that everybody needs to bear in mind, when people come on a podcast, if you're talking about something that happened 30 years ago, you are going to get things wrong. You might not get the exact name of the person that was there. You might not get the exact time. You might not get the exact location, right? People will make mistakes. And that's because recollections may vary. So when people say things that aren't correct on a podcast or they get something wrong, we don't fact check every single thing people say because we'd spend longer doing that than we would doing anything else. So, we're very happy for people to come on it and express their opinions. I'll have a laugh and a joke with them. I'll ask them questions, but I'm not pro or against any of my guests. It's for entertainment purposes. That's what a podcast is. And regarding Carlton, obviously I offered him to come on the podcast and, I would wear a wig and he could wear a mankini. Now, he didn't accept my kind offer, so I've had a thought about it, and I actually think if he does want to come on the podcast, it'd be quite good to have him on as a guest, and then he can talk to me face to face rather than doing it through somebody else's podcast. But there is no beef with Carlton. I know it's been dressed up like it's this big thing, but there is really no beef with him. But obviously, if he thinks maybe going on James English's podcast and talking about the beef, I mean, he's got probably more of a beef with Bernard. And I suppose because Bernard's come on our podcast and give us an exclusive, people might have got it twisted that, I'm up Bernie's arse or he's up my arse. And both of those things are further from the truth. Bernie's his own man. Bernie stands on what he says, whether you love him or whether you hate him, that's Bernie. And with me, I feel honoured that he come on the podcast exclusively, just like I feel honoured that Stuart Reid come on the podcast exclusively, Lee Chapman come on the podcast exclusively, Emilio Giovini come on exclusively. So we've had lots of exclusive guests that only want to come on our podcast. So, just because I have someone on as an exclusive guest doesn't mean that I'm their best friend, doesn't mean that I'm in love with them. I think I need to say Craig Rolfe then, Brian Richardson Rolfe said that, I was becoming Bernard O'Mahony. I mean, I don't know why you would even say that, because, I'm definitely nothing like Bernard O'Mahony. For one, he speaks funny, I don't. And, obviously he's been through it. He's been there, he's seen it, he's done it, he's got a T-shirt. So I think it's an interesting conversation to be had with Brian Richardson, a.k.a. Brian Rolfe, and Bernard O'Mahony and myself. I don't think there's anything remotely funny about him changing his name. I mean, who cares, if you change your name? My name's not Terry Stone, but, I've changed it, but there's nothing funny about that. And just like, when Bernard was talking about Craig Rolfe injecting Brian Rolfe with drugs, there was nothing funny about that, but it was shocking, the imagery that goes through your mind that somebody would actually do that to their brother was so shocking. You just laugh, and it's not a laughing, ha, 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 it's funny. It's a laughing, absolutely shock and horror. But Brian, I'd love you to come on the podcast on your own or with Bernie. I've got to ask Bernie, see if he's up for it. I'm sure he will be. And Carlton, obviously, if you don't want to wear a mankini, that's absolutely fine. You can just come on as yourself and, we can have a good old chat and put our beef to bed. To cap everything all off, our show is all about entertainment. It's all about entertaining you, whether you're on your commute, whether you're in the gym. We love your comments, whether they're great, whether they're bad, whether they're ugly. We're making these shows for you. We're not pushing a narrative. We're not, taking sides with anybody. We're basically just having a laugh. And if you haven't got a sense of humour, don't fucking watch it. But all joking aside, we do love you. We do appreciate you. And please subscribe to our channel. We've got so many amazing guests coming up. And I'm sure, I think with the Essex boys, the whole thing about the Essex boys is controversial, right? Whether you're talking to a police officer, whether you're talking to one of the guys that was there, whether you're talking to one of the family members, whether you're talking to someone, everybody's going to have a view. Everyone's going to have an opinion. Everyone's going to say, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And he was this and he was that. And everyone's a grass or whatever. But that's what makes it so interesting. People still question who killed the Essex boys. And that is what keeps this going on and on and on and on. And even though the police have put people in jail for it, and even though that they've, not been able to appeal for it, they're still saying they're innocent. So there is always that question, who did it? Nobody really knows. And, it's very exciting to sort of, keep talking to people, keep looking for the truth, hearing people's opinions. And I think whatever podcast you watch, take it with a pinch of salt. It's not, some of it's been hyped up, some of it's been done to shock, some of it's done to entertain, but it's entertainment at the end of the day. So getting upset about a podcast is a little bit like getting upset about being stuck in the traffic. It's actually stupid to be upset about it. Enjoy it and keep watching, keep liking, keep subscribing, and we'll see you on the other side.